When I lost my sight, I thought the world would grow darker, but the real darkness came from the woman sitting next to me. There's this thing people say when you go blind, that your other senses sharpen to compensate. I don't think that's true. I didn't suddenly hear like a bat or smell like a dog. The world just got quieter, slower. People stopped looking me in the eye, so they stopped saying the whole truth. I learned to listen, not for what they said, but for what they didn't. The air between words, the shape of a breath. That's how I started to notice something was wrong with Lily. It wasn't one thing. It never is. Just a slow drift. A tone too flat. A pause too long. The sound of her voice coming from farther away than it should have been. We'd been married 9 years when the optic neuritis started. At first, it was light sensitivity. Then colors washed out. And by the time we knew it was autoimmune, it was too late. I remember the last thing I saw clearly, Lily standing in the kitchen, her back to me, drying her hands on a dish towel. The clock above the sink said 4:12. Her shoulders rose and fell like she was sighing, though I hadn't said anything. That moment still floats in my head like it's laminated, preserved. She didn't know I was watching. Now, I don't watch anything. I just remember and listen. She was good at first. Kind, attentive, soft-spoken in a way that didn't make me feel helpless. She'd sit with me at night and describe old family photos, or the way the trees bent in the wind outside our window. She made tea and sat close, brushed my hair with her fingers, said we'd be okay. But as months passed, something changed. The tea got colder before she brought it. Her descriptions faded into silence. She sat farther from me on the couch. Little things. But I noticed. You notice everything when you live in darkness. I started keeping track. Not on paper, just in my head. The first time she didn't kiss me goodnight. The time she said she was going to the store and came back with nothing, claiming she forgot. The night she came in smelling like a man's cologne she insisted was a perfume sample. I didn't say anything. Not then. It's easier to stay silent when you're blind. People assume you're a step behind, that you don't know enough to question them. But I wasn't behind. I was in the dark. That's different. One night, around 2 a.m., I woke up to the sound of her laughing. It was soft, like she was trying to swallow it. But it was real. I heard it from the living room. I got out of bed, careful not to bump the dresser, and padded barefoot toward the door. The hallway rug muffled my steps. The TV was off. She was whispering, her voice low and tight, like she was excited or trying to control it. I stood there for a long time just listening. I know, I miss you too, she said. Then a pause. Then, he's asleep. He never hears anything. It's fine. I didn't breathe. The whisper came again. Lighter now. Flirting. A tone I hadn't heard in over a year. Not since I lost my sight. I stepped into the room. Lily. A pause. Then, too quickly, hey. I didn't hear you. I was just watching something. TV's off. She laughed, but it didn't sound right. Oh, yeah. I'm in a podcast. Sorry. Couldn't sleep. Her slippers scraped the hardwood as she crossed toward me. I could smell something floral, not her shampoo. Not ours. I was going to come to bed, she said. I nodded. Okay. But her voice stayed tense, like piano wire. I held her hand and felt her fingers trembling. Not from cold. From guilt. I didn't say a word. The next morning, I asked if we had any plans that weekend. She paused, like she had to remember. Oh, I'm getting lunch with Jenna on Saturday, she said. She's been going through a rough patch. Jenna. I remembered her laugh, loud, grating, always trying too hard. We hadn't seen her in 6 months. Did she call? Yeah. Last night. While you were sleeping. I nodded slowly. Around 2 a.m.? Another pause. No, earlier. Like 10. I smiled. Just enough to let her think I believed her. That week, she left the house a lot. Groceries, she said. Pharmacy. Picking up fabric swatches for the curtains. She never used to care about curtains. I sat in the quiet and started memorizing the way her keys sounded when she left. 3 seconds of jangling, then the deadbolt, then the door creaking shut. I started timing it. I noticed how long she was gone, how her footsteps quickened the last few yards before the door opened again, like she was rushing to reset something. I noticed she stopped kissing me goodbye. I noticed the bathroom trash had unfamiliar brands in it, mini shampoos from hotels, not ours. Lipstick, wipes, and shades she never wore around me. And I noticed one afternoon, when I walked into the kitchen and she was on the phone, how fast she went quiet when I came in. "Oh, he's here. I'll call you back." She told me it was her mother. Her mother's been dead 3 years. One night, I left my voice recorder running in the bedroom. She doesn't know I still use it sometimes, for remembering conversations, tracking ideas, managing my schedule. I hadn't used it in months. But I left it on the nightstand, screen dark, mic live. The next morning, while she was out at one of her errands, I plugged in my headphones and listened. Mostly silence. The rustle of sheets. The creak of the mattress. Then her voice. Low. Sultry. A whisper. "You should have seen his face," she said, and giggled. "I think he actually believes me." A pause. "I'll come over Thursday. He has a doctor's appointment in the afternoon. I'll be gone for hours." A deeper voice. "Male. You sure?" "Trust me," she said. "He doesn't see a thing." Another laugh. Neither of them knew how much I'd been listening. Neither of them knew that being blind doesn't mean you stop seeing. It just means you start seeing differently. And I saw everything. The Thursday she mentioned came quickly. I didn't mention the doctor's appointment. Just let her bring it up over breakfast, pretending like I hadn't already listened to every word she said the night she thought I was sleeping. "You've got that neurology follow-up today, remember?" she said, slicing into her toast a little too neatly. 1:30. "I can drive you." I stirred my coffee slowly, listening for the tightness in her voice. "You don't have to. I can take the shuttle." She hesitated. "Are you sure?" I nodded. "Yeah. You've been running around a lot lately. Might be good for you to have a break." She exhaled a laugh. "Wow, you're actually letting me breathe for once." I smiled, but I didn't laugh. She packed me into the ride-share van like someone stuffing guilt into a box. I could feel the tension in her hands when she guided me down the porch steps. The driver was quiet, too quiet, which meant she'd probably tipped him not to ask questions. He dropped me off exactly where she wanted, at the clinic. I thanked him, walked inside, then waited until the automatic doors hissed shut behind me before turning around and walking right back out. The bus stop was 2 blocks down. I knew the route, knew the timing. I'd mapped it out in my head a dozen times. While she thought I was gone for hours, I circled back. I didn't go home, not directly. I waited on the corner across from our street, leaning against a light post, white cane in hand, had tilted down so no one would notice my eyes. I waited, and then, at 1:53 p.m., I heard it, tires crunching gravel. A car door opening. 2 sets of footsteps. A laugh that didn't belong to me. I turned my face slightly toward the sound. My house. My driveway. Her. And someone else. A man. I didn't move. Didn't blink. Just listened. She unlocked the front door, and the sound of it echoed down the street like a final answer to a question I'd been afraid to ask. I didn't go home that night. I took the late bus to the other side of town, where the lights buzzed louder than the silence I'd been living in. Found a cheap motel, the kind where they don't ask questions if your eyes don't meet theirs, and paid in cash from the emergency stash I kept hidden behind the laundry shelf. She didn't text me until 7:42 p.m. "Are you okay?" "You're not back yet." I stared at the phone, the screen's voice reader echoing the message into my ear. I didn't reply. The second message came an hour later. "I'm worried. You didn't answer your phone. Did something happen?" Still, I said nothing. Then she called. I let it ring. Let the robotic voice whisper Lily, mobile until it stopped. She was panicking. That much I knew. She didn't expect a blind man to disappear. I was supposed to stay put. Obey the cues. Be predictable. Stay in the dark, both literally and metaphorically. She didn't know I'd spent the last 3 months studying how to move without her. I had memorized the creak of every step, the sound of each bus brakes, the smell of intersections. My blindness had taught me to see space in a new way, to hear structure, and now to use it. She thought she'd taken my world. What she'd really done was shrink hers. The next morning, I came home. I let myself in quietly. She was in the kitchen. I could hear the fridge door swing shut. "Where were you?" she asked, voice high, too careful. "I stayed at the clinic longer," I said calmly. "Fell asleep in the waiting room." She hesitated. "You should have called me." I gave a slow smile. "Phone must have died." She set a mug on the counter. The clink was too soft. Not our mugs. Not ceramic. Disposable. He'd been there. I could still smell him in the air, some cheap cologne, musky and fake, covered with citrus. She stepped closer and kissed my cheek like nothing had happened. I didn't move. She pulled back a little too fast. That afternoon, I called an old friend, Logan. We'd lost touch after college, after I got married, after everything started orbiting around Lily. But I knew I could trust him. He showed up 2 hours later, smelling of rain and coffee. "You look the same," I said. "You look different," he replied, then winced. "Shit. Sorry." I smirked. "You've always been bad with words." He sat across from me in the living room, keeping his voice low. "What do you need?" "I need your eyes," I said. He listened as I laid it out. Everything I'd overheard, the tone of her voice, the laughter at 2 a.m., the man who came to our house when she thought I was gone. I didn't need proof. I had proof. But now I wanted the pattern. "Can you follow her?" "Just once or twice." "Take pictures." "Watch the house." "I'll cover gas, time, whatever." He didn't hesitate. "I'll do it." That night, Lily was sweet again. She made my favorite meal, stir-fry with the sauce I liked, jasmine rice soft and fragrant. She sat close to me on the couch, rested her head on my shoulder, played our wedding playlist on the speaker like it was some casual decision. She was good at this, almost perfect, but I could feel her heart racing when she touched my hand. I could smell the wine on her breath, not the cheap red we usually bought. This was drier, cleaner, classier. She was nervous, and that told me everything I needed. The next day, Logan sent a voice message. "She's at a hotel right now. Checked in under a different last name. Same guy from the house. Mid-30s, smug. Arm around her waist like he's owed it. I've got photos. You want them?" "No," I said. "Describe them." He did. I imagined each one. Her face tilted toward him. The way she smiled when she thought no one could see. She never smiled like that around me anymore. I didn't confront her. Not yet. There's a silence worse than yelling. Worse than sobbing. It's the silence that comes when someone knows they're being watched, but can't figure out how. I wanted her to feel that. I wanted her to feel what I felt every time she crept through the house, believing her lies were safe inside the dark. She forgot. I don't need eyes to see betrayal. I just need to listen long enough. Lily started dressing differently around the house. That was the first thing. Before, after my vision faded, she stopped caring. Wore oversized sweatshirts, frayed ponytails. She thought I couldn't see, so she didn't try to be seen. But that week, she wore silk again. Lighter perfumes. Earrings that clinked softly when she turned her head, soft sounds, but sharp to me. Everything she did made more sound than usual. She wasn't living in silence anymore. She was performing. But not for me. Every lie needs an audience. And I was just the backdrop. I kept things simple. I didn't press. I didn't ask where she'd been. I stopped reaching for her in bed. Let her be the one to close the gap. It confused her. I could feel it in the way she hovered near doorways. How she waited longer after saying goodnight, like expecting me to stop her. I didn't. Instead, I listened. I started laying down small traps. Quiet ones. The kind you build when people forget how closely you're paying attention. I moved the flower vase 2 inches to the left on the kitchen table. Just a little. When I passed it the next morning, it was back in place. She didn't mention it. Neither did I. I changed the passcode on our home Wi-Fi, then waited for the question. Later that evening, she asked, "Hey, the Wi-Fi's not working. Do you know anything about that?" "No," I said flatly. "Maybe the router reset." She hesitated, then walked away. She didn't press, didn't suspect, but she knew something shifted. I wanted her off balance. I wanted her guessing. Logan kept feeding me details. "She left the house at 10 yesterday," he said through my earpiece. "Met him at that same hotel, room 314 this time. He paid." She used a different name again. Same routine. They left separately. He paused. She kissed him in the parking lot. Not fast. The kind of kiss that means something. I nodded slowly. "Did he touch her face before or after?" "After." I exhaled through my nose. That told me everything. Intimacy came after the kiss. Comfort came second. They were past the beginning, past the novelty. They were building something. She was building it out of my ruin. I started recording her again. Not just at night, during the day. I rigged a simple audio trigger app on my phone and left it in the living room while I napped. The app captured 30-second voice bursts whenever noise spiked. By the end of 3 days, I had enough audio to hear her unravel. One file opened with her laughing. A man's voice followed. "You really think he suspects nothing?" She paused. "He's too quiet lately. It's weird. But no, he's blind. He still asks what color my dress is." Another file. "I keep thinking I'll tell him. Just rip it off like a Band-Aid." His voice again. "So why don't you?" "Because," she said, "he needs me. And if I leave, he falls apart." That line played on repeat in my head for hours. He needs me. She meant it like pity, like ownership. Not love. Not guilt. Control. The funny thing is, she stopped lying so well after that. She'd forget which errands she told me about. Say, "I'm meeting Jenna," when she said Maria the day before. Little cracks. Hesitations. A wrong pause in the middle of a sentence. I logged everyone in my head like coordinates on a map. I made a copy of the house key and gave it to Logan. Just in case. I opened a new checking account and transferred my savings there. The joint account still looked normal, but I rerouted my disability deposit. She never asked. Then I started writing letters. Handwritten, slow and jagged, like someone learning to feel again. One to my brother. One to a lawyer. One to myself. They were labeled "in the event of." Because when you're blind, people assume you're not the one leaving. But I was. Just not yet. Then something strange happened. She brought me a gift. It was a Braille watch, sleek, heavy, expensive. She placed it on my wrist like it meant something. "I thought of you when I saw it," she said. I ran my fingers along the dots. "Where'd you find it?" She hesitated. "Online." There was no shipping box in the trash that week, which meant it wasn't new. It was his. A re-gift. Maybe stolen. Maybe offered. I smiled anyway. "It's beautiful." She kissed my temple and said, "I still love you, you know." She didn't say it like truth. She said it like apology. And I let her think it landed. That night, Logan called. His voice was quiet. Serious. "She's planning something." "What do you mean?" I overheard them. He said, "So when are we making this real?" And she said, "Soon. I just have to take care of some logistics." "What kind of logistics?" He sighed. "She mentioned your benefits. Something about filing for permanent and home care. Said she's got someone who can help her get it approved." I leaned back in my chair, heart ticking slow and loud. "She's trying to get paid," I whispered. He didn't respond. "She wants to become my legal caretaker." Logan's voice was low. "Yeah." I sat there in the dark, gripping the arms of the chair until they creaked. She wasn't just cheating. She was building a future with another man, funded by the blind husband she was betraying. And she thought I'd never see it coming. That was when I made the decision. I wouldn't confront her. I wouldn't scream. I wouldn't give her the satisfaction of being the tragic, tormented wife. I'd be something else. Something she didn't know I could be. I'd be the man who saw her in ways no one else ever had. And when it was over, I'd leave her in a silence even I wouldn't be able to describe. Lily started planning her future like I was already gone. That was the clearest shift. She left home health brochures on the counter. Let insurance mail pile up where I could feel it if I wandered the kitchen. She asked about passwords more often for the bills, the bank, even my medical records. Said she just wanted to be prepared. Her voice stayed soft, measured, full of concern. But concern doesn't wear new perfume to fill out benefit applications. I didn't ask questions. Didn't object. I gave her exactly what she wanted. The appearance of a man who trusted her. The kind of man who'd never imagine his wife was preparing to steal his life out from under him, one form, one lie at a time. Logan and I moved fast. He helped me meet with an attorney, someone discreet. We didn't use Lily's name. Just my spouse. The lawyer didn't need it spelled out. I signed the paperwork over several quiet evenings, power of attorney, revocation of her access to our accounts, and a revised will. The last part felt strange. But the lawyer said, sometimes you write the ending before anyone else knows you've turned the page. We filed a fraud alert on all major financial accounts. Flagged the joint insurance. Logan even set up a camera, just one, in the living room, behind a photo frame I hadn't touched since I went blind. We kept the feed silent, offline, and encrypted. By the time Lily submitted her first inquiry into full-time caregiver compensation, the system was already watching her. She thought she was the only one documenting. She didn't realize I'd started recording long before she did. One night, she sat beside me and asked if I'd ever thought about assisted living. Not for now, she added quickly. Just in the future. Somewhere safe. With people who could really help you. Take the pressure off me. I turned toward her, expression blank. You think I'm too much? No, she said fast, laying a hand on mine. God, no. I love you. I just worry. The lie was so smooth it almost softened me. Almost. I nodded. We can talk about it. The next morning, I called the attorney and had the home placed in a living trust under my brother's name. Lily's access revoked. She'd given me the idea herself. Logan watched them again. He called me the following Tuesday. They were at the bank, he said. She brought documents. Claimed she was acting on your behalf. She had a folder. She tried to withdraw anything? No, just inquiries. Probably laying the groundwork. She kept calling you her dependent. The word scraped at something in me. Dependent. I hung up and deleted my voice memos of her, not out of mercy, but because I didn't need them anymore. She was scripting her own downfall in real time, on official documents, in public spaces, in places with cameras and signatures. She was building a structure to contain me, and never realized she was locking herself in instead. 2 days later, she left her phone on the table while she showered. It vibrated once. Then again. I memorized the sound pattern. 3 soft buzzes. 1 long. Her new lover's ringtone. I picked it up, not to answer, but to feel the warmth of it in my hand. I imagined his name on the screen. The easy smirk in his voice. The way she must look at him when she thinks no one's watching. I set it down, screen face down, and left the room. She came out 5 minutes later and said nothing. But I heard the pause in her steps when she reached the table. I heard her breath catch. She knew I'd touched it. And for the first time, she was afraid I knew. By Friday, everything was in place. The lawyer had filed the necessary protections. My brother had confirmed the transfer. The private investigator Logan knew from his freelance days had a file ready: dates, times, footage, recordings. All I had left to do was wait. So I gave her one last opportunity. We were eating dinner, a quiet meal, the kind that feels staged for company. She poured the wine I don't drink anymore, lit a candle like she was still pretending we had anniversaries left. I asked, "Are you happy?" She looked up too fast. "What? Are you happy?" I repeated, calm, even. She reached for my hand. "Of course I am. I just want you to feel safe. Cared for." Cared for, I echoed. She nodded. "Always." I didn't move, didn't pull away. Just let her words settle into the air like dust. I whispered, "You've always been a beautiful liar." And for a second, just a flicker, I heard her breath hitch. She stood quickly and cleared the dishes, saying nothing. I heard the plates shake in her hands, heard the glass hit the sink harder than necessary. She knew. She just didn't know how much I knew. Not yet. The next morning, she left early. Said she had errands. I waited exactly 12 minutes. Then I stood, walked to the couch, and pressed a button on the remote Logan had left with me. The living room TV flared to life. A voice came through. Her voice. Recorded the night before. "He's asking questions. We might need to speed this up." Then the man. "You sure the paperwork's solid?" Her. "Yes. I've got access to everything." He still thinks I'm helping him. Then laughter. Then silence. The feed cut. I turned the TV off. At exactly 1 p.m., she walked through the door. I was sitting in the exact same spot. "Hey," she said, bright and casual. "I grabbed your prescription. Want me to?" "Lily," I said quietly, "do you believe in ghosts?" She froze. "What? Ghosts?" I repeated. "Do you believe they exist?" She let out a soft laugh, uncertain. "I don't know." "Why?" "Because I've been living with one," I said. "A woman who used to be my wife, who died slowly in front of me. I didn't bury her. She just faded, and something else took her place." She didn't answer. "I know about him," I said. The silence that followed was the most honest thing she'd given me in a year. She didn't say anything at first. Not denial. Not outrage. Not even fear. Just silence. Like her mind had entered some emergency protocol and was sifting through 1,000 variables at once. How much does he know? How long has he known? Where did I slip? I could almost hear it, her panic hiding under breath control. I sat still. Let it thicken. Then, finally, "I don't know what you think you know, but..." I turned my head toward her. Slowly. "I know about the hotel on Maple. Room 314. I know about his hand on your back. I know you changed your perfume for him. I know you said you still love me, then filed paperwork to profit off my body like it was an inheritance." My voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. "Lily, you told a man who isn't your husband that I wouldn't notice a thing, that I was too blind to see the shape of your betrayal." I let that word hang. Betrayal. It sounded different in the dark, more precise. She let out a shaky breath. I heard her step back. Her foot hit the leg of the coffee table. "He told you," she whispered. I turned toward the sound, almost laughing. "So it's true." "No," she said fast. It's not. It's not like that." "Then tell me what it's like." "Nothing. Tell me what kind of love makes a woman take her husband's blindness and turn it into a business model." More silence. Just the faint click of her fingernails against her wine glass. She was unraveling, and I didn't lift a hand to help her. Finally, she snapped. "What was I supposed to do, Mark?" That landed harder than anything else. "What were you supposed to do?" I repeated slowly. She started pacing. I could hear the rug bunching under her heels. "I have been here. Every single day. Wiping up spills. Driving you to appointments. Managing every ****ing detail of this house, while watching the man I married disappear. Bit by bit. You used to see me. Now I'm a voice that brings you food and holds your arm when you cross the street." I nodded. There it was. She didn't love me. She loved how she looked beside me. And when that collapsed, so did we. I didn't ask for this, she said, voice tight now. You think I wanted this life? That I planned this? I have been patient, and kind, and loyal until... I turned sharply. Until you weren't. She fell quiet. Then softly, it just happened. No, I said. Accidents happen. Deception takes planning. She sniffled. A performance. I'd heard her real cries. These were hollow. I gave you the chance to stop, I said. I gave you time. Silence. 100 openings to turn back. And what? Stay in this house forever? Watching you slip away while I bury myself in your needs? I'm not AF asterisk 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 ing martyr, Mark. No, I said. You're not. And that was the moment she knew. That I had already left her. I stood. Slowly. Let her hear the weight of my steps. I'm transferring the house to my brother. I've revoked your access to the accounts. Your name has been removed from every medical directive and every legal file. She gasped. You can't. I already did. You don't have the capacity, Elle. I stepped closer. Felt the space tighten between us. I'm blind, Lily. Not incompetent. Every signature was witnessed. Every document notarized. I didn't need your permission. She stepped back. Her perfume was fading, something citrusy, cheap. Probably his. I followed her scent like a hunter. You made me into a ghost, I whispered. But ghosts watch. Ghosts remember. Ghosts collect evidence. She hit the wall behind her, breath shallow. You planned to replace me. Her voice cracked. Mark, please. You wanted to live off me. Then you want to be gone. Not dead. That would have been too loud. You wanted to disappear me slowly. Turn me into paperwork. Into deposits. Into something sad and silent. I reached into my pocket. Set something on the table. Her phone. Her backup one. She hadn't even realized it was missing. Her voice shattered. How did you? You're not the only one who can make plans. I heard her footsteps stumble away from me, toward the hall. Where are you going? I asked. I need air. No. She stopped. You need to hear this. I walked toward the speaker, the one Logan had helped me wire. Found the power switch with my fingers. Pressed play. Her voice filled the room, caught in the clean clarity of hidden microphones. He still asks what color my dress is. He thinks I'm helping him. He doesn't see a thing. Then the man's laughter. Then hers. I stopped the recording. The silence afterward felt sacred. She whispered, You were recording me? I turned to her. You were erasing me. She didn't scream or cry. She just sank to the floor and said nothing. And in that moment, I felt everything. I felt pity, rage, relief, ache. But mostly, I felt done. I knelt beside her, close enough for her to feel my breath. You always said I couldn't see you, I whispered. But in the dark, I saw you more clearly than I ever did in the light. I stood, grabbed my cane, walked toward the front door. Behind me, she stayed on the floor, not calling my name, not begging me to stop, not even pretending anymore. She knew it was over, and this time, I let her watch me leave. The house was never mine again after that day, not even when I returned to pack what little I needed. My brother came with me, silent and steady, letting me feel my way from room to room. My hands brushed against surfaces I used to know like extensions of my own body, corners, thresholds. The smooth grain of the dining table Lily once said reminded her of driftwood. Everything felt smaller now, tighter, like the walls had been inching in around me all along. She wasn't there. Of course she wasn't. She sent a message through a lawyer a few days later, full of the phrases you'd expect: misunderstanding, emotional duress, deeply regret. It was all formality. She didn't ask me to come back. She didn't deny what she'd done. In her silence, I found the only apology I'd ever believe. I moved into a one-bedroom apartment across town. No view, not that it mattered. The air was quieter. I could tell the walls hadn't heard raised voices in a long time. That mattered more than windows. Logan came by once a week. We didn't talk about her. We talked about books, about the news, about people we used to know. Sometimes we just sat in the quiet. There was something healing in that for two men who never really learned how to grieve out loud. At first, I caught myself reaching for her, for things she used to do. I'd ask the air if we had milk, forgetting for a moment that she wouldn't answer. I'd reach for her hand across the bed, just out of habit. Then I'd pull my arm back, feeling stupid. Empty. But over time, the habits changed. I stopped cooking her favorite meals. Stopped saying her name when people asked what happened. She left, was all I said. Let them fill in the blanks. Let them imagine a death, or a move, or something more civil. No one ever guessed what really happened. People don't want to believe a blind man can see betrayal better than most. 3 months after she was gone, I received an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside, a note written in a hand I knew too well. You always saw more than I gave you credit for. I hope that makes it easier, or at least makes sense. No signature. No apology. Just those lines. Like closure was something she could deliver by mail. I burned it. Because the truth was, I didn't want it to make sense. I didn't want a narrative that made her human again. I wanted her to remain what she became, the ghost I'd lived with, the one I finally exorcised. I started walking more. With the cane, at first. Then with a guide dog, Marley, a quiet shepherd who didn't flinch at sirens or sudden turns. He knew when I needed stillness. When I froze at a familiar scent. When something on the sidewalk reminded me of her. He'd nudge my leg gently, like he was reminding me I was still here. Still moving. Still free. I got a call from Logan one night. He sounded winded. Said he saw her. She was with him, he said. Same guy. But something felt off. What do you mean? She looked tired. Hollow. Like she was still living the lie, but without the thrill. I didn't say anything. He added, I thought you'd want to know. I nodded, more to myself than him. Thank you. But I didn't want to know. Not really. I'd stopped wondering where she was. Who she became. Because the truth is, you can only give so much of yourself to someone before the part that survives becomes a different person. The man she betrayed, the quiet one, the patient one, the one who begged silently for scraps of affection, he was gone. She didn't just lose a husband. She lost the last person who ever looked at her and truly wanted to stay. I started writing again. Nothing fancy. Just pages of thoughts, moments, things I remembered before I lost my sight. I wrote about the shape of her mouth when she lied. About the way betrayal doesn't announce itself. It arrives quietly, dressed in routine, drinking your coffee, humming your favorite song. I wrote about silence. About how the absence of sound is never empty. It's full of what people think you can't hear. I wrote about seeing, not with eyes, but with memory, with pain, with knowing. Sometimes, I still hear her voice. Not in dreams, those are mercifully blank, but in rooms where her energy once lived. In the hush between raindrops. In the creak of the backstep when no one's there. I don't speak back. I don't miss her. I miss who I thought she was. But that woman never existed outside of me. I created her. And when she betrayed me, I buried her. Not with vengeance, but with clarity. These days, people ask how I get around so well. They say, you seem like you've adjusted incredibly. And I smile and say, you'd be surprised what you can learn to navigate in the dark. But what I never tell them is this. The hardest part wasn't losing my sight. It was realizing the person I trusted to guide me was already walking away. And that I, blind, broken, and buried in silence, had to be the one to find the exit. Thanks for watching. If this story pulled you in, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss the next confession. Until next time, take care and watch who you trust.